Yeah, so I am Erica Bauman. I am an agent at Aevitas Creative Management. I have been with them since, gosh, 2015. So coming up on 10 years now, which is wild to think about. But I started building my list there, and I work on primarily children's and adult fiction. On the kids side, I do everything from middle grade and up, essentially. Um, and my tastes are pretty varied. I do a lot in the speculative fiction space just because that is feels like home to me. Is my first love. But I love mysteries and thrillers and horror and contemporary and rom-coms. I would really love a rom-com. Definitely looking for that. Um, and just, great stories and great storytellers.
What's your biggest thing on your wish list?
Oh, that's a great question. I mean, kind of the overall vague answer is just beautiful storytelling that sweeps me up and, makes me forget reality for a little bit. Because let's be honest, I really want to get lost in a good book right now. Kind of on a more zoomed in level, I really love romantasy. I feel like everyone is giving that answer, but that kind of cozy character focused fantasy more so than a big world sweeping epic. I love, what may seem like smaller stakes, but to the characters themselves feel like earth shattering stakes. I love those sort of personal stories that, are really comforting. Um, and on the opposite side of that coin, I'm a big fan of horror. I'm very happy that horror is having a moment. And for me in particular, like summer always makes me think of like scary campfire stories. So I really love scary stories this time of year. Um, and it's funny, I was having this conversation with a couple of my colleagues the other night because I love horror. I'm the biggest scaredy cat though. And they're actually helping me build up my tolerance to watch horror movies because I can't.
Oh.
Um, for me, it's like the gore. I can't my brain can't process that when I watch it. Um, but I love jump scares and really weird creaturey, supernatural stuff. So that kind of translates over to my reading taste as well, where I really love horror that again is like very personal, and maybe not vast and epic, but has very personal stakes to the characters. And explores kind of the horrors of existence in a very relatable way. But maybe not super gory because I am sensitive.
Okay, so I'm thinking with all of these meta tags together, put them in a blender. You would love a book that is a rom-com on the movie set of a horror movie, and then it turns out there's a speculative element too. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So basically take the new movie Maxine and add in a rom-com and it's great.
I love I
Exactly what I want.
I love the idea of this too. Meta tags in a blender. What do we get? Let's find out.
Yeah, just kitchen sink it. Let's do it all. Why not?
Like what is the best way to pitch a story that does have all these elements? Should you just choose one genre and then play with comps? Like what's the best way to do this for writers?
I always feel like when a project is genre bendy like that, there's still kind of one genre that maybe comes out on the top, like the A genre with like elements of a B genre. There can only be one Highlander. So thinking about if you were to kind of take a step back and look at the full view of your manuscript, what would you say is like the primary flavor of it and start with that as the genre, but also to use kind of those elements. So if the main genre is, for example, fantasy, but it's got a little bit of, mystery element to it, then say, I categorize this as, it's fantasy genre with elements of mystery. Maybe you bring in the comp titles like, it's got a private investigator ogre kind of like, film noir, but with fantastical creatures, and describe it that way.
I think it's true though that one element usually has to have a little bit more emphasis than the other. I would say it's usually 70-30-ish. There's what is your book major in? What is it minor in? It's really hard to do a double major. And of course, it's so different to have a fantasy with a romantic element than a romantic book with a fantasy element.
I think that it kind of comes down to those genre rules that fans of that genre go in and anticipate. So, like, for example, romance has very, very clear, distinct rules. You know, it follows a main couple and they have a happily ever after in the end. Those are the two rules of romance. So, when it comes down to blending genres like that, one genre's rules are kind of going to become the framework of the story you're writing. So if you're writing and it's like a romance blended with horror per se, if it follows the main couple and they have a happily ever after at the end, then it's a romance horror versus, if it follows a main couple but also a lot of other characters and they all die at the end, that's not a romance, that's a horror with romantic elements to it.
Yeah,